Hello. I wanted to announce and talk a little bit about a project that I started today. I'm offering my behavior sessions to work on reactivity for $150 off to those who are willing to let me record their sessions so that I can show you a bit about what I do. And these sessions are done mostly at the Irvine Regional Park. The reason for that is I need a lot of space in order for my work to work. So there are definitely some limitations to this method. One of them being that it requires a lot of space to work, and that's not always feasible. But if you do have the opportunity to use a big space, then this might be very helpful to you. When we're working on reactivity, to me, it's really important to do our best to stay under threshold. Unfortunately, life happens and that's not always realistic, but that's always my goal. So when I show you the videos of these sessions, I want to be really clear and say it's not going to be very flashy. If everything goes as I would like it to, you're not really going to see the client dogs reacting. You're not really going to see them bark, lunge, growl, or act aggressively. And so I have a feeling I'm going to get a lot of comments about these dogs not being actually reactive. And so one of the things that I decided to do in lieu of making the dogs react, which I'm not interested in, is interviewing the owners. So that's also part of this project and part of what they agree to when they sign up to do these sessions. I'm going to ask them some questions. They are not prompted in any way. They're not paid for this in any way. And the questions are pretty basic. It's going to be stuff about their dog, how far away their dog has to be in order to not react, what their reactions look like, how long it's been going on, what kind of previous training they've done, if it worked or not, and how they're feeling about things. It's going to be very basic. I will not have prompted the owners in any way. Um, and I feel like I should also mention when I say that I don't want to have prong and e-collars in the session, it's not just because I'm a force-free trainer. I'm doing this somewhat scientifically to demonstrate whether or not force-free methods actually modify behavior. In the dog training world, there's two main camps. There's the force-free positive camp, and there's the balanced camp. And it's kind of a war, if I'm being honest. People aren't always very nice to each other. Trainers aren't nice to each other. Trainers aren't nice to clients. Clients, as a result, feel bad, and it just isn't great. So, a lot of the people who signed up for this project are people who have either tried balanced methods before, are using balanced methods currently and don't like it, or haven't really tried anything at all and are just lost. So, what I'm hoping is not necessarily to give everybody a step by step process for how to recreate what I do, but I'm hoping to have at least some evidence started for scientifically proving that force-free methods do work and you don't need punitive tools at all. The method has 6 steps. The first step is me following the dog. At all times, I endeavor to stay under the dog's threshold. Some of the dogs that I work with, especially for this project, since I'll not have worked with most of them before at all, some of the dogs, as soon as they see a dog, they react. And that is something I encounter a lot. They don't have a threshold. I'll just say you can be 500 feet away. If they see the dog, they react. And there's no real great way to work in a sense that they have to be able to see a dog in order to work on being around a dog, but we want to stay under threshold. So I have to create a threshold. Some dogs, it might look like they aren't reactive at all, and that's my goal. That would be ideal for me. That's what I want. So if you do see a dog barking, either it's this scenario where the dog doesn't really have a threshold and we have to make one, and then you'll see how I do that. or it's going to be dogs who were traumatized by a previous trainer. Not to say that it's the balanced method that's bad, but there are a lot of abusive trainers. And so part of what I'm hoping to prove with this project is also that the dog training industry desperately needs regulation in the United States. And anyone can call themselves a behaviorist. When I made the post asking for volunteers for this project, I was actually criticized because I called myself an animal behaviorist since I'm not certified with any particular organization. The reason that I haven't pursued any organizations, there are several with whom I agree, is because I want to remain kind of like Switzerland. I want to be neutral. And when I lobby for having the dog training industry regulated on a national and state level, I don't want to be accused of bias with any one organization. I want all of the organizations to have a say because I believe that as much as I would love to have force-free methods be the primary and or only option going forward, that's not realistic at this time. So what I'm most interested in is the kind and ethical treatment of animals, and making steps in that direction, even if it's not my ideal right away. Not to say that I'm an expert on what ideal is, just that it's got to be better than what we have now. I've witnessed trainers at malls with 4 or 5 month old puppies on prong collars, yank them so hard they yelp. That's not training, that's abuse. So my goal with this whole series is to end the abuse in the name of training. And so some dogs, you will see me allow to react from a distance, not close up. I'm not deliberately flooding, but you will see me allow them to react a little. And for those dogs, and for only those dogs, I let them react so that they can learn. Sorry, it's gonna make me emotional. So that they can learn that it's okay to be upset. I have had stories from owners where people have worked with a trainer, a behaviorist, who put a shock collar on a German Shepherd who was very aggressive, very dangerous. The e-collar was not one of the good ones. The good ones don't do this. But they turned the collar up so high that it burned the dog and the dog yelped. So when the owner checked the dog to make sure the dog was okay and saw the burn mark and told the trainer said, turn the collar so we don't burn the same place twice. And I have made it my mission ever since that day, about 10 years ago, to end trainers who work that way, to force them to not even be able to hang a shingle and take clients. So when I worked with one of the dogs who's going to be in this project, her name's Mandu. She had worked with a local trainer. I won't say any names. I'm not out to badmouth anybody. But she had worked with a local trainer who put a prong collar on her and corrected her so hard that she just shut down in the session. The trainer claimed she was cured and left for the day. And the next day, when the owners took her on a walk and didn't even try to actively recreate any of the methods that the trainer had used in the session, they were just taking their dog on a walk. She pulled after a lizard, I think, maybe a squirrel, I'm not sure. She pulled after some sort of animal, felt the prong collar tension start, and redirected on her owners and bit them for that. So they decided not to work with that guy anymore. And these people who abuse dogs to the point of shutting them down and then declare them cured, some of them are all over social media charging $1,500 or more per session for what, a couple hours of work. And so when I decided to follow my own path and become someone who helps upset animals, who helps aggressive dogs, reactive dogs, fearful dogs, same with horses. I decided I wasn't going to side with any particular certification organization. I was going to fight for creating a legal organization that supervises the dog training industry, the animal training industry, animal behavior treatment. And when that entity, whatever it is, when that is created in this country, I will be the first person to sign up to get certified. But until that day, I'm going to remain neutral. Not to say that getting certified is bad. I'm very glad it exists. I just really feel where I can do the most good is to make sure that that's a legal requirement in this profession. So when you watch this series, I hope that you're not bored by the lack of fireworks. And I hope that everyone can maybe just add a tool to their tool belt. You don't have to do things like I do. You don't have to agree that force-free is the way to go. But maybe if you have the ability to recreate this, you might want to try and use this method as well as whatever you've got going on in your system. And for owners who don't know what to do, I'm just here to help and do what I can. So here we go. Thank you. Hello again. I just realized I never actually explained the rest of how the method works. I got so upset, I forgot. So the first step is to be able to follow the dog. The second step is that the dog be able to follow me and or my dog, depending if the trigger is a person or a dog or both. And then be able to say hello politely. So I structure it in such a way that the client's dog gets to greet my dog in the rear only. We do not allow face-to-face greeting. We do not allow the client's dog to get closer than pretty much my dog's butt. When dogs finally get to say hello, very often there's a lot of pent-up eager frustration there. So very often one greeting is not enough and they require many. My current record holder was a poodle mix who needed 18 greetings. Generally, it's much less than that. Generally, it's more like they sniff my dog's butt 4 or 5 times. And then when they've gotten it out of their system and we've kind of ended the cycle of, I can't say hi, I want to say hi, I'm excited to say hi, and all of that's dissipated, they won't try to sniff anymore. So when they're neutral, when the client's dog is no longer in need of saying hello, then we work on parallel walking. And then we work on opposing walking, where we walk past each other. And then we work on hanging out together and settling. The importance of that step is everything prior to then involved motion. And motion can help keep the brain working forward and not getting too hung up on being reactive. When things hold still, that's when you can start to see things come back, in my experience. So I save that towards the end. And then the last step is to try and let the client's dog act like a normal dog, and we just walk together. And I'm hyper aware and very strictly managing arousal levels. If at any point in any of those steps, the client's dog seems to be getting intense, even at a low level, then what I use is an interruption using space. So the dog can earn proximity to my dog by being comfy, calm, and neutral. That's kind of my magic recipe. If they're not all 3 of those, then it's not going to go well. And very often when things are going well, the way that it can go wrong is when people rush any of those 3 steps. So when the dogs aren't reacting, sometimes I have clients who really want to let their dog try and play with my dog. And that may or may not be on the agenda, but it's always dessert. It's never the main course. So I would encourage you as a dog owner to adopt the same philosophy. If playing with other dogs is the main adrenaline boosting activity your dog has in their schedule, they're always going to be a little bit dog reactive. And for me, reactive just means that they see something and they have a response. If your dog remains calm, comfy, neutral, they're not reactive. If your dog gets excited, jumpy, that's reactive. If your dog gets growly, barky, that's reactive. So I want calm, comfy, neutral dogs in pretty much any situation that life's going to throw at them. I always still encourage playing, bonding, having fun. You can comfort your dog. It has nothing to do with being a pack leader. It's just that I want to be able to help my dog be able to remain calm, comfy, neutral, again, those three words, in any life situation so that they don't get themselves in trouble. Arousal tends to be the big issue for reactive dogs. They get very excited in a good or a bad way, and that can get them in trouble. So for excitement, I tell people to think of it not like Christmas morning and you're getting a bunch of presents and you're excited for that. I tell them to think of it like it could also be having a bad day at work excitement. Somebody got fired because they're exposed doing some horrendous behind the scenes thing. They got whisked off to jail. That would be very exciting, but not a good thing. So excitement can be good or bad. Arousal can be good or bad. And I want all of my dogs to be able to cope with all of that in a way that helps them stay inside themselves and not feel defensive or on the offensive about any of those situations. So hope you enjoy.